The breaking news that has just shocked the entire world is this. Former Senator of Pakistan Mushtaq Ahmad Khan, leading a humanitarian flotilla of more than 500 Pakistanis on multiple ships carrying vital medicine and food supplies for Gaza, has been intercepted and captured by Israeli forces just miles before entering the besieged territory. This was not just a small boat with activists. It was a full-scale humanitarian convoy, a fleet of vessels packed with aid, passion, and courage. And yet, within moments, that mission of mercy was stopped in its tracks by the heavily armed Israeli Navy. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. Now, let us dive deep into this extraordinary event, a story that mixes politics, humanity, courage, and confrontation on the high seas. Imagine the scene. The Mediterranean sun blazing on the horizon, dozens of aid ships pushing forward, painted with slogans of peace and justice, carrying tons of food, boxes of life-saving medicines, and the prayers of millions who suffer daily in Gaza. Among them, more than 500 Pakistanis, ordinary men and women, doctors, students, human rights activists, and political figures, all united for one purpose, to break the silence and deliver aid to the people of Gaza. At the helm of the Pakistani delegation stood Mushtaq Ahmad Khan, a man with years of political experience and a loud voice for justice. But just when the flotilla was only a few miles from entering Gaza's waters, the shadow of warships appeared. Massive Israeli naval vessels moved in, their engines roaring like thunder, surrounding the humanitarian ships like predators circling their prey. Israeli commandos stood ready, weapons in hand, radios buzzing, as if preparing for a battlefield rather than facing doctors and volunteers carrying bags of rice and cartons of medicine. The world watched, some through live streams and satellite signals, as the confrontation unfolded in real time. This was no ordinary interception. It was a moment charged with symbolism, a clash between humanity's cry for compassion and the iron fist of military control. Witnesses from onboard described the terrifying atmosphere. Helicopters hovering above, drones buzzing like angry wasps, and Israeli naval officers issuing warnings in loudspeakers. The activists shouted back that they were unarmed, carrying only food and medical supplies. On the deck of one ship, a young Pakistani doctor raised a banner reading "Humanitarian aid, not weapons," while others chanted slogans of solidarity with Gaza. Mushtaq Ahmad Khan reportedly stood firm, raising his voice against the orders to halt, declaring that this mission was not an act of war, but an act of mercy. Yet mercy was not the language the Israeli forces were prepared to hear. Within minutes, ropes were thrown, ladders were dropped, and heavily armed commandos boarded the ships. Chaos followed. Some activists linked arms in peaceful resistance, others raised their hands in surrender, while journalists frantically filmed the unfolding scene. The ships were seized, and the entire delegation, including Senator Mushtaq Ahmad Khan, was taken into custody. This dramatic seizure has sent shockwaves across the world. For Pakistan, the news hit like an earthquake. Families of the 500 Pakistanis on board waited breathlessly, glued to their television screens and social media feeds, praying for the safety of their loved ones. In cities like Islamabad, Karachi, and Lahore, people poured into the streets, demanding the release of Mushtaq Ahmad Khan and the flotilla participants. Pakistani officials, too, scrambled into action, condemning the interception as a violation of international law and humanitarian principles. The Foreign Office described it as an act of aggression against peaceful citizens on a humanitarian mission. But beyond Pakistan, this event has stirred international outrage. Human rights organizations across the globe began issuing statements within hours, calling Israel's actions illegal and immoral. Social media platforms erupted with hashtags like #Free Mushtaq, #Save the Flotilla, and #Aid Not War, as millions of people voiced their anger and disbelief. Images of aid boxes stamped with the words Pakistan humanitarian mission being carried away by armed soldiers went viral, symbolizing a crushing of hope by the machinery of war. To truly understand the significance of this incident, one must remember the context. Gaza has been under blockade for years, its population suffering shortages of food, clean water, and medicine. Hospitals struggle to operate, children grow up under trauma, and families survive in crumbling ruins. The flotilla, therefore, was not just a convoy of ships. It was a lifeline, a beacon of solidarity. By stopping it, Israel has not only captured ships and people, but it has also tried to capture and silence the very spirit of global resistance against injustice. The drama of this interception also carries echoes of history. More than a decade ago, in 2010, the world witnessed the deadly raid on the Mavi Marmara, another humanitarian flotilla headed for Gaza, where Israeli commandos stormed the ship and killed activists. That bloody incident still resonates in the memory of activists and governments alike. Today's seizure of Mushtaq Ahmad Khan's flotilla draws chilling parallels, once again raising the question, why does Israel fear food and medicine more than it fears weapons? Why are unarmed civilians treated like criminals for trying to help the helpless? Mushtaq Ahmad Khan's arrest adds another explosive dimension to this story. He is not just a politician, but a voice known for challenging injustice, often raising the plight of Palestinians in Pakistan's Senate and public platforms. His capture is not just the arrest of an individual, it is a symbolic attempt to silence a voice that has carried the pain of Gaza into the corridors of power. His supporters in Pakistan are already calling him a prisoner of conscience, comparing his arrest to the imprisonment of historic figures who stood against oppression. The details emerging from the flotilla are as heartbreaking as they are dramatic. Doctors who volunteered to go on board described how they carried essential medicines, antibiotics, painkillers, surgical kits, intended for Gaza's overwhelmed hospitals. Volunteers packed food supplies, rice, flour, sugar, cooking oil, and baby milk formula. There were even cartons of dates, donated by communities across Pakistan, meant to bring comfort to families breaking their fasts. On board were also young students who had left their classrooms to be part of history, singing songs of freedom on the decks, waving flags of Pakistan and Palestine together. All of that now lies in the custody of Israeli forces, stacked in warehouses instead of reaching the hungry and the sick. Meanwhile, footage captured before the interception has begun to spread widely. One video shows Mushtaq Ahmad Khan addressing the passengers saying, "This flotilla is not a challenge to Israel's might. It is a challenge to the world's silence." His words now echo with haunting relevance, as silence and darkness engulf the flotilla's fate. Another clip shows women and children on the ships clapping and chanting, "Free Gaza! Free Palestine!" only minutes before the ships were surrounded. These clips have become rallying cries online, replayed by supporters, turning the flotilla into a symbol of courage even in capture. Inside Israel, the government is framing this interception as a security measure, claiming that flotillas often attempt to smuggle dangerous goods into Gaza. Officials argue that all aid to Gaza must pass through Israeli checkpoints. But critics point out that this control is precisely the problem, that aid becomes a tool of political manipulation rather than a human right. By seizing this flotilla, Israel has once again exposed itself to accusations of collective punishment, treating the entire population of Gaza as a security threat and punishing even those who seek to help them. The reaction from the international community is now a crucial question. Will the United Nations convene an emergency session? Will global leaders condemn the arrests and demand immediate release? Or will the world once again look away, leaving activists to suffer while the blockade tightens its grip? For Pakistan, this is a test of diplomatic muscle. Already, opposition parties and civil society groups are demanding that the government take strong measures, even calling for suspension of ties and international campaigns until Mushtaq Ahmad Khan and the 500 Pakistanis are released. This breaking story, then, is not just about ships and seas. It is about the eternal battle between the powerful and the powerless, between the ones who build walls and those who try to break them with compassion. Every captured box of food, every seized carton of medicine, and every handcuffed activist tells us that the struggle for Gaza is not confined to its borders. It is a global struggle pulling in voices from Pakistan, Turkey, Europe, and beyond. As the hours pass, families of the detainees wait in anguish. Mothers cry into their scarves. Fathers pace outside newsrooms. Children clutch phones waiting for messages that may never come. In Pakistan's mosques, special prayers are being offered for the safety of the flotilla members. On social media, artists are drawing posters, poets are writing verses, and ordinary people are changing their profile pictures to the words, "We are with the flotilla." The incident, therefore, is no longer just a confrontation between Israel and a handful of activists. It is a confrontation between Israel and the conscience of the world. The story of Mushtaq Ahmad Khan's flotilla is still unfolding. Will the detainees be released quickly, or will they face legal battles in Israeli courts? Will the seized aid ever reach Gaza, or will it rot in storage facilities? Will the global outcry grow into a movement strong enough to challenge the blockade? These questions remain unanswered. But what is certain is that this flotilla, intercepted and captured though it may be, has already made history. It has reminded the world that humanity cannot be silenced, that even under the shadow of warships and the threat of prison, there are always those willing to risk everything for compassion. And so, as the world watches and waits, one truth rings louder than ever. The struggle for Gaza is not just about territory or politics. It is about humanity itself. The flotilla may be in chains tonight, but the spirit that launched it sails on, stronger than any blockade, brighter than any weapon, and more lasting than any act of force. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and like the video, because the truth must keep sailing, no matter how many times they try to stop it.